we'll be starting our second session of the day. But first, before we get started with the details and the presentations that we'll be giving today and presenting today, first of all, just let me give you all a quick brief of the previous sessions that we have hosted yesterday and today. First of all, we started talking yesterday in our first session about the pandemic effects on the education process from the perspective of communication students. The session was moderated by our friend and colleague Ahmed. We've had many informative presentations that were focusing on the higher education perspective, on education processes, and on the risks and opportunities of the digital studies and the online studies. In our second session yesterday, this session was moderated by our friend Melih, who is also a student at Ibn Khaldun University, an MA student. He hosted many outstanding presentations that mainly covered the globalization and the digitalization effects on journalism. We've had many numbers and many statistical presentations here that talked about social media and fake news. They also focus on the pollution phenomena and the relationships between social media and the popular culture. Today, however, we started our third session of the forum and our first session. Today, we talked about the future of all public relations in light of globalization. This session was run and hosted, moderated by our friend Gözde. We've had many amazing presentations here. We talked about the globalization and the digitalization effects on public relation campaigns and the differences between the traditional mass media and the algorithm-based media as well. We've had many great presentations. I thank all the presenters and all the attendances, the people, the guys that attended, and I also thank the hosts and the friends that followed us and watched them all on YouTube. We hope that they were all useful and beneficial. Today, now with me, we'll be starting our last session of the forum, the second session of today, and we'll be focusing mainly on the globalization and the digitalization and the future of TV, the radio, and the digital media broadcast. Before I give the microphone to our first presenter, I'd like to remind you all to prepare your pens and papers to write your notes and questions that you might want to discuss at the end of the session. We'll be starting with our friend Alassana Kamara. I think I pronounced his name correctly. Alassana is a BA student of New Media and Communication at Ibn Khaldun University. Alassana, are you ready?
Yeah, I am ready.
Great. So I'll be giving you the mic. You can start.
Can you see my slides?
Yeah, go on ahead.
Hello, guys. Thank you for being here with us. And first of all, I want to conclude my sincere greeting to Yasmin Hoja for creating and supervising this forum. Thank you very much. And I hope so it will continue. And our topic today is globalization and media, the topic I will be talking about. So have you ever think of this, how we came up to this television era, radio, this social media, this and this? This is a question that is mind-boggling. How this transition occurred from how this revolution occurred. So let's see. Evolution of media and globalization. We see that the world has already in its transition from this like traditional form of communication, traditional form of transmitting informations to digital forms. So all this happens through media. So what is this media? Media that involve communication channels and through which news, promotions, advertisements, education, data, entertainment are transmitted. So when we come to these scholars who talk about this media, who try to give us the framework or the roadmap how this transition occurred, we have the scholar like Harold Innis, we have the Harry, and who organized the historical study of media by a time period since each stage has been featured as a dominant medium. So Harold talked about it in 1950s. He talked about oral communication. He talked about the printing press. He talked about the electronics. So it comes to like 2000, James also talked about the digital, and 2005, the Harry also talked about the scripts. So let us see this transition. This is the history of media, from oral to script to printing press, electronic media, and digital media. So the sixth stage, I don't know what that will occur, what will be the next transition. We are in the digital era right now. So let's see the oral communication. It's known to be the oldest and the enduring of all media, notwithstanding the numerous changes that the first and last thing that human could share is the ability to speak. So this speak has also been with us for more than like 200 years ago. And when speech developed into language, it becomes the medium of globalization. So speeches help us a lot. It helps people to settle down, to create towns, to create villages, and to communicate to each other, to travel to the world. Because without this speech, people wouldn't have made it, because you can see people who have the common culture, people who can speak the same language, can form a village, can form a city, can form a town. So, but how language help human to move and allow them to cooperate, such as sharing information that helps the human ability to travel and other various environments, like it could be land, climate, and water. So it helps in sharing information about tools and weapons that lead to the spread of technology. So without this speech, without this language, all this wouldn't have occurred, because language played a massive role. That's why Osler said language was their most important tool to spread technology, to cooperate, to inhabit in a land. So language helped human to settle down. It has transmitted information across generations, leading into the creation of villages, towns. It also led to market trades and giving rise to cities. So this is the importance of language. So the first transition is the oral communication. That is the language, how these people gathered together and formed cities, and how these people were having common features, because this commonality is the language. Without language, like people wouldn't have inhabited in the same place, cities wouldn't have been settled down, because of this is the importance of language. So we comes to script. This is the second stage of the evolution, how we comes to globalization. So script, the very first writing allowed human to communicate and share knowledge, ideas of a large space and longer time. So language was essential. It was crucial for these people to settle down, but it wasn't enough. because it wasn't imperfect. It was imperfect because of the distance was the obstacle and hindrance. Time also caused difficulties to rely on human memory, which has limited capacity. So language was so important to these people, but it wasn't enough because we see the distance between cities. We see the distance, like where the people are located. So without language, these people, because there wasn't like a transmitted information that can be in a written form that can be sent from other city to another. So this is where the importance of script writing comes. Hence, early writing system began.
Alassane, your microphone went off. Can you, yeah. Repeat the last sentence.
Okay, so writing system began to appear after 300 BCE. Writing also has its evolution. Like we can see from cave paintings, and we can see from petroglyphs, hieroglyphs, and until it led to the creation of alphabets. So, however, scripts are about writing. So it needed to be written on something. So that is why in oldest days, we have these woods where they write stuffs, because there wasn't these paper forms of writing. You have clays, you have bones, and you have stones. These were the techniques were used to convey message or to write a script. So, like if, for example, if you go to ancient Egypt, they were having this and papyrus, where it is a kind of tree. They made it technically, and they write their whatever they want. So with this writing surface, human had a medium that propelled globalization, because you will say messages will be sent from one city to another through various technologies. It could be birds. They may use birds. They may use, like, you have funny express, like in the Renaissance, you have many kind of techniques. So script allow a permanent codification of economy. So you can see, like in any civilized country, people will codify their economy, will codify their written materials, they will codify their culture, even political practices, and were spread over large distance and handed down through time. So this is the importance of writing. We have, from then, we have printing press. So another evolution is the printing press, which can be regarded as the third world revolution, because it changed the landscape of what the humanity and the globalization, and it is a rapid revolution of the lifestyles in that era. So I think all of you know about the Gutenberg, who was regarded as the pioneer of printing press, who invented printing press. So looking back, before the invention of printing press, the means of communication were so limited and can be available to only the ordained people, the elite. This was the elite communication. So it was only available for them. People were restricted, like knowledge was limited. People did not have enough materials to write. They were mainly depending on their brain power to memorize and retain information. So, but with the invention of printing press, this allowed ordinary people to write. It allowed them to access the book, to information, to knowledge, to laws, to rules and regulation. So it also led to an entire new era of mass communication. People were engaging in publications of books, publications of magazines, publications of newspapers It allows the flow of information. People like exchange their thoughts and ideas about any existential issue. So these are the importance of printing press. It also allows multifarious copies were produced and thousands of books were written because of the importance of printing press. This made people to become illiterate. See, people are like began to be aware what is going on, to get the gist and the comprehensive nature of the world, the significance of acquiring knowledge through writing and reading. It lifted and standardized people's lives. It allows the emergence of new intellectual classes through Europe. So we can all remember that was the backfires, the clash between the Protestants and Catholics during the Renaissance, Martin Luther King. It allowed the flow of information around Europe and beyond. So that's why in 1979, historian Elizabeth, he also investigated the influence of printing press from the Enlightenment, because it played a massive role, a crucial role in Enlightenment, in the era of Martin Luther King, and in the Reformation era, and the scientific revolution, and many more. So this is the importance of printing press. So we turn back to electronic media. This is another stage, electronic media. A host of new media is uprising. The system of globalization in the beginning of 19th century, there were these telegraphs. These were the tools. These were the mediums used. Like we can say in 19th centuries, like we have been televisions, phones, radios, and television. These came like following in the following subsequent eras. So we have like telegraph, which were very crucial in transforming information, became a global medium because eventually sent global messages. So we can see how telegraphs were used to transmit information between one city to another, between one continent. Even like during the World War I, World War II, we can all remember the importance of these telegraphs. So telephone, for its ability to transmit speed over distance, became next communication breakthrough. So telephones also play a crucial role in connecting the world. So radios also, we can see the wireless telegraphs that transmitted music and news reaching region without the construction of wire and words. So television are considered as the most powerful, brought together visual in the power of films with radio. Because of television, the world became a global village. Because of television, the world became a village, because it is a visual. Like we can see what is happening in reality, visual. So visuals are very important. So this is, we can consider television as the most powerful that brought us together. Because for radios, or like the telegraph, you can hear the info, you can see the written records. For radio, you can hear the information you don't see, but for television, because of being a visual, it brought the world together, see a global village. Digital media has taken over our daily lives. We are overwhelmed with these computers. The common representation of digital media has accessed the economic information as well. So you can see also, it also allows industries to access to the global market. You can see the stock market. Without this digital, I don't think we were talking about the stock market. If you see all these massive success is because of the digital. So it allows industries to access to the global marketplace. So this is the importance of electronic media. We have social media. Social media allow people to communicate among themselves and adopt new practices and culture. We have many cultures, we have many espouses, like the things we espouse. We have cultures, we have music, we have many hobbies, education, fashion, arts, and many more. So this is the importance of social media. As you can see, medium made globalization possible. Without these social medias, without these televisions, without these phones, without these scripts, without the spoken language, we wouldn't be talking about globalization. So with the period of media and globalization, we saw marked influence of media on the globalization. It would be quite vague to think that globalization emerged without the influence of media, because it is the medium that plays a pivotal role to bring people together. So what is globalization? Globalization can be defined as the growing interdependence of countries worldwide through the increasing volume and variety of cross-border transactions in goods and services, and of international capital flows, which is very important, and through the rapid and widespread division of technology. So let's see the globalization and media. So in globalization, world is becoming an integrated marketplace. We can see the national borders are no longer important in terms of globalization. Like in terms of the connectivity, the national borders are less important. And what is most important here is the transnational cooperation, which dominate a global market. Because we can see the flow of economics, the flow of goods, the flow of services between countries and countries. When we are talking about economics, we are talking about what the transnational corporations, because it is not only limited to the national corporation. So the question is, how is media being globalized? This question is media ownership. Who owns the media? These very crucial questions right now. Who owns the media in our generation? For like, we can think the olden days, we can say the autocrats owns the media, the aristocrats owns the media, bourgeoisie owns the media, and the Soviet Unions owns the media, the economic, the socialists owns the media. So in our generation, who owns the media? Media content, who provide media contents in our generation right now? These are the questions we should be thinking about. We can talk about it in the last session. And the media access. We all have opportunities to access to media, like freely and fairly. Think about what is going on in the world right now, Palestinian issue. So let's talk about the cultural impact of media and information flows. So this is very crucial, because larger and most enhanced nation can create more media content than small and poorer nations. So when this happens, this prompts cultural imperialism. What is cultural imperialism? It is when some countries dominate others through the media. We can see the most industrialized countries, how they are using media to dominate the poorer nations, to manufacture the fake news, and which can become a reality in the web, as to especially to the people who are so perceived to contravene the information that flows in the media. So this is very crucial, cultural imperialism, because of the like prosperous nations are creating more media content than small and poorer nations. So when this occurred, this can cause the erosion of traditional culture and change. So they will try to assimilate or like dominate people culturally because of the informations they're injecting to them. So should we call this as Westernization or Americanization? Why globalization cannot be regarded as Americanization or Westernization? Because we have regionalism. Regionalism mediated through a geographical region. Because, for example, when you go to Africa, you have in a country, you will have like 100 spoken language. Like those are local languages. So in the Western world, they cannot have control on those language because it is a regional language. And those people are connected together with their language. So we should not regard the globalization as Westernization or Americanization. So you can also see cultural proximity, desire for cultural product as similar as possible to one's own language, culture and history and values. And nation differences. We can say America is not the only global power. We have many global powers in the world. You can speak to Russia, they have their own language. China, they have their own language. Turkey, they have their own language. European countries, even they have European Union, but each and every one speaks in a different language. Globalization, media power and youth. Globalization of media and the question of cultural imperialism is about power. Who has the power to create media right now? Who has the power to create media? These are the questions we should be thinking about. Who has the power to distribute media? Who has the power to exhibit media? Who has the power to consume media? The last questions I want to ask to finish my presentation with is globalization a process of cultural homogenization or hybridization? Thank you very much for your kind listening.
Wow. Asana, we'd like to thank you for your, very bold and impressive presentation. You've cleared up many terms for us and for many of our friends attending the forum with us. Thank you very much, Asana. Guys, don't forget that at the end of our session today, people who have anything they'd like to discuss with Alessana and with the other presenters will have enough time for that right after the presentations are done. Now, next on the list, we have Muna. Muna Abu Ghnem is a baccalaureate student and radio and television at the University of Petra in Jordan. Mona will be handing the mic to you. Are you ready? Your microphone's off. Yeah.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Okay, so if you're ready, you can start sharing your screen.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Omar. Hello, everyone. I am Muna Abu Ghanima, studying radio and television at the University of Petra. And I am about to finish my third year and start the last year, inshallah. First of all, I would to clarify that you have to excuse me because I have to leave before 1:30 for my final exam, inshallah. And today I am gonna talk about globalization and its effect during the COVID-19 pandemic. And in my opinion, I believe globalization, it's the freedom of exchanging information with people from all around the world, using improved technology techniques with no need to cross any geographic borders. And now let's take a look at the scenario that happened at the end of January 2020. And to be more accurate, the first beginning of the pandemic was in November 2019. But at the end of January 2020, videos that show the scene of empty streets due to COVID-19 started spreading from China to the outer world in social media platforms, as well as videos of unconscious people lying on the ground due to their infection with this disease, as you can see in this picture. Also, videos of empty stores, videos of a huge amount of infected patients struggling in hospitals. By then, the news have arrived to Jordan, which led the government to put a 40-day curfew into action. As a result of what we saw and what was published on social media, citizens were fearful and anxious. And this contributed to the commitment of people to quarantine as a result of this fear and not as a result of experiencing the virus. As during that period, we were registering 19 coronavirus cases out of a population of 10 million, which is considered a very low percentage. These days, we are registering more than 1,000 cases daily. But the difference between the start of this pandemic and now is that today we are dealing with it more wisely. And that is through our commitment to health and preventive measures, such as wearing a mask, washing our hands, social distancing. Throughout the days, the feeling of fear and anxiety decreased because people began to experience the real effects of this virus, which proved to them that social media added a lot of over-exaggerating to it. That's why it's important to be fully aware of the damage that globalization could cause, to be able to work out a plan that helps dealing with it as individuals and reduce its negative impact in our mental health. Last but not least, let's all try our best to apply preventive measures so that we can hopefully put an end to this pandemic and go back to living a normal life. Before I leave, Omar, I want to talk a little bit about how can we work out a plan that helps dealing with it and reduce its negative impact in our mental health. The main purpose of the plan is to adjust globalization negative effect. How can we do that? By educating ourselves and people around us in judging things based on logic and common sense, as well as being aware that there are always facts, half-truths, and over-exaggerating. And that's it, Jenny.
Thank you very much, Muna, for your contribution.
Thank you, Omar. I have to leave for my final exam.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you for this great opportunity. I was so glad to be with you today. Thank you.
We were happy to have you with us as well. Thank you very much and good luck in your exam.
Thank you. Thank
you so much.
Then. Have a nice day. Thank you.
You too. All right. So now, friends, we will be having Julian Ibrahim, who is a baccalaureate student at the Applied Science Private University in Jordan. Julian, are you ready?
Yes. Can you help me to show these slides?
Okay. You want me to share them for you?
Yes.
Okay, just one moment. Let me just open your slides. Suppose. to be somewhere here. Just one moment, I'm opening them. This is it, yeah?
Yes, yes, thank you.
Guys, can you see the presentation? Okay, you can start.
Mm. Hello, everyone. 2nd of November 1920, Warren Harding was declared the winner of United States presidential election. Nobody before that day has expected a press release to be announced through TV or radio called later media. Despite the internet as being a major contributor in crystallizing globalization, we realized that the first step toward globalization has taken place at the beginning of the past century. At that time, the internet term even not existing, not that existing. Um, for tens of years and still, associations and international nets in use has been depending on visible and audible means to release its news. These giant institutions have controlled the trend of news for communities over global. And over the years, we witnessed a fast development of the communication sector, and we started to see the big screens converted into a small one carried by hand and later mobile phones. Such a fast jump in communication has founded much more space for different subjects of news, which started by time to reach every citizen in this world. And social media is a good example for that expansion. And as a fact, social media became the main competition for the traditional media these days. And it's not a secret to say that the social media has become a first reference for many communities over global. According to this, the traditional media needs to do much work to keep on its presence by matching the new social media in our current life. And thank you for listening to me.
Okay, we thank you very much, Julian, for your contribution. Right, like I said, guys, when you feel, when you've got any questions, if you have any question or anything you'd like to discuss with the presenters, we've got plenty of time to do that right after the presentations are done. Now, Hassan, are you here?
Yes, just a second.
Okay, so guys, Hassan is also a baccalaureate student in New Media and Communication at Ibn Khaldun University, and we will be handing him the mic now to share his presentation with us. Whenever you're ready, Hassan.
Okay, hello everyone. Sorry for the delay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, come on. Okay, I can hear. Oh, okay. My name is Hassan Andre. Yes. So our topic today is enemy and how it became a global trend, moving from the local aspect and the digitalized days. So this is like letting the lights up. So I don't say really good jokes, so I say to stick to the kind of formal thing while I'm presenting here. So the presentation flow is as the next. First, we're gonna have a small introduction about enemy. What is it? And then we're gonna have some examples of the top enemy series today. And then I'm gonna show some statistics about the revenues and so on about enemies. And then we're gonna give clue about what we mean by digitalization and globalization. Later on, we're gonna speak about the link between those two phenomena and their impacts on the Japanese anime industry. And lastly, we're gonna give some extra bulk. Okay, so first, what is enemy, when it starts, and so on. The word enemy comes from animation. The Japanese, it refers to the Japanese animation. So the word comes actually from the English word animation, the cartoons industry and so on. Actually, the enemy has roots back to the 20th century, where it was used for religious and political usage in the past. But in the 20th century, it became much popular and common after the impacts of the cartoon industry coming from the West. So this is kind of the process. Like, it starts with the manga as the one you see on the left side, and then drawings, later on developed to drawing on a, for example, electronic board, and then later on, try to move those characters using some programs. So let's have some examples about the top enemy series we have today. Most of you, I don't know, maybe you have already known about it. Like we have the Dragon Ball Z, Hunter x Hunter, Digimon, which is one of my favorites, Attack on Titan, and One Piece, Pokemon. I believe like most of you at least heard of it, or one of them. So for example, Attack on Titan is kind of trending, one of the trending enemy in 2020. So it made about $45 million of revenues. And around, it's not clear, it's not exact estimations, but they say it's kind of 100 million views. So this is a big number. And it made about 4 series. Again, moving on. I'm getting some chat. Okay, moving on. So let's have some statistics about what the revenues and so on about the anime industry. So even during the pandemic, the Japanese anime industry grew in a great manner, though most or several economic sectors were facing hardships. So as we see here, also anime is popular in different countries around the world. As we see here, we have the USA, we have Philippines, France, Mexico, and other countries from different parts of the world. So as we see, it's kind of showing how a global trend anime is. And these are example of the revenues, statistics, some numbers for the ones who like numbers. You can check them later. I'm not a big fan. Yes. All of them showing great growth of this sector and how it's spreading more and more day after day. So this is showing us, again, like the connection of what, like when we say the impact of globalization on enemy and how it's growing globally. Now going back to the issue of digitalization and globalization, what we mean by these terms? Well, simply there are several views about each of those terms. Most of them are given negative connotations, saying like they're actually totally negative phenomena and like, full of inequalities and so on. Nevertheless, here we're trying to see how they impacted the enemy industry. But first here, like, we're gonna have small clue on them. So as for globalization, it can be defined as the increasing level of interdependence between national systems by way of trade, military alliance, and domination. Yes. And also it can be defined as the intensification of worldwide social relations, which link distant localities in such a way that local happenings are shaped by events occurring many miles away. So again, the idea of the global village and the integrated world and so on. Yes. As for digitalization, it's simply referring to the process of changing data into digital form that can be easily read and processed by a computer. This is the basic understanding. Another understanding of this term or phenomena is the process of converting something from something to digital form. I believe this one is kind of the general idea and, like, showing what we mean kind of by digitalization. Moving on. Now, how to link between enemy and digitalization and globalization, like their impacts and so on. As for digitalization and globalization, we can say a general thing for each of them. Globalization presents the system and the mechanism of how the world works. The world today, as we said, is kind of integrated village, like integrated politically, culturally, economically. So all of this is bringing the world one together and letting all of these nations and people to interact with each other and exchange maybe their products, as we say, or their culture and so on and so forth. And they're becoming much similar day after day. As we're saying, like global trends are growing and becoming common in other countries other than the local countries, as happened with enemy industry. So we see here how globalization in general is working as the system and the mechanism of how the world is working as one global village. And yes, as for digitalization, on the other hand, is simply, we can say, is the tools enhancing the system, like the tools that the system is using to enhance itself and to work. The tools needed to perform or to enhance this global village system, as to say. Again, for globalization, we may say some specific thing about how it impacted or benefited the Japanese enemy industry. So again, the word as and word system, which made it easier to present your product to broader audience. Like, since the word coming together, it's easier now to present your product to much broader audience. By the way, am I like passing my time? Is everything good so far?
It's okay. Take your time, Hassan. It's okay.
Okay, thanks so much.
Feel free to express your feelings towards your presentation.
Hey, well, yes. So again, also the increase in interaction among nations in the exchange process. So this is also is kind of much facilitating the process of taking a cultural product from a nation to another. Despite the idea that there are some cultures which are dominating over others and being presented over other cultures, this is another issue. But again, the issue of presenting your culture and exchanging some aspects is much easier today with the system of globalization. As for digitalization, as we said, we can start in general terms at the tools. So simply, digitalization providing techniques and the tools needed for the enemy industry. Like, as we saw in the previous example, in the previous slides, the the digital boards, the programs, and so on and so forth, all of that is helping the enemy to be digitalized. And this very idea is very crucial because we have the understanding of the media, as McLuhan said, Marshall McLuhan, the medium is the message. So this is everything. This is how especially digitalization is helping or impacting directly the Japanese anime industry by this very crucial idea. Because now we have a medium where people can watch anime in a faster manner, limitless, and have complete access to it. So all of this is, giving like a massive advantages to the Japanese anime industry to spread and become more and more dominant and grow. So again, this is also an examples. When we say enemy, guys, like don't think that we are only referring to the things that you watch on TV. Enemy is much more than this today. The enemy industry as a word, we have things to merchandise. We have products you can buy. We have apps. We have communities. As the one you see is Amino, like one of the famous communities of enemy. We have games, like Pokemon, Naruto Shobi, Naruto Storm, and other types of things. We have the platform, which is Crunchyroll. I don't know how to spell it. So this is one of the most famous platforms. I think it has over 120 million registered people there. So this one actually is like having a battle with Netflix. Netflix today is also trying to bring this enemy to its a platform, and it's like kind of now battling with this website, which is specialized in streaming and providing news and so on about Japanese anime, especially. So as we see, all of these aspects, how it led the anime industry to grow and become more and more dominant and have all of those advantages. So moving on, what we can infer from this, and this is the point of the lecture, the simple presentation I'm just trying to make. 4 simple things we can infer from the experience or the phenomena of how the Japanese anime grow in the lights of digitalization, globalization, and other events. First, every nation may have a chance to present its unique cultural products. A nation should look, or a people, person even, should look to its unique aspect, that makes them unique, and try to be active in the global system and use the tools, that we have in our hands today, and try to be an active citizens in this system. But also we need to be careful about the need for good representation. The enemy, because this is all thing in the media. You might be a wonderful person, but you might have a bad representation, so you are destroyed. Your reputation is completely destroyed. So the issue of how to present your product in a way that people may love and accept. Yes, so again, what we are trying to sum up what we are trying to say here, and it's the point of all what was said. You can be an active citizen in this world, although you might not accept it. You might say it's full of inequalities, it's not working in the way it should be, and so on. But in sociology, I'm studying sociology as a double major as well. We always discuss this with my teachers. If you want to change, you need to be part of the system. Sometimes to change the system, you need to be active in the system. So being only passive and rejecting or ignoring the global system because of its system that is full of inequality and so on is not the solution. You need to be active as a nation or as a person or as a group of people, and you can make use of experiences of Japanese anime industry or other phenomena that we are witnessing, like the Bollywood industry or like how the Turkish food is growing. I think it's going to become a global trend as well. So yes, this is the point of all we said. These are the references for the guys who would like to read stuff, and search for them. So there are like 2 books that I really like. They're given summaries about the history of anime and so on. If you would like, to get further details, one is called Anime History by Barnes and Noble. This is a real nice book. And also there are some websites that are giving the statistics like AGA, the Association of Japanese Anime. This is also a very helpful one. to understand like how this sector is growing and so on. And thank you for being your listeners.
Wow. We thank you, Hassan, for your informative, bold, impressive presentation. You brought up many nostalgic feelings and some good childhood memories when you showed us some cartoons like that. Okay. Yeah, it's about time people take anime seriously. Anime industry is a pretty serious thing nowadays. We'll discuss it furthermore when it's time for the discussion part. And like Sayyid Ibrahim just described the presentation, it's bombastic. Excellent. Thank you very much for your effort, Hassan. Right, now we've got next on the list, it's going to be Rama and Huda. Rama and Huda will be giving us now their presentation. The mic will be theirs. They are both BA students in the digital media design at the CAE in Amman. You're both together students at that center, yeah? Okay, so the mic is yours. You can start without further ado.
Just one sec. Okay. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rama, and Huda will be presenting right after me. Today we wanted to talk about the transition from traditional media to digital media. And we wanted to start off the presentation by giving a small timeline of media and showing how much media has changed across the years, you can say. First, this is one of the many events, but we picked the most interesting events or the most interesting forms of media. First one from 1014 is a movable clay type printing in China, where before they had this media, they would they would write on books by carving each and every single word. By creating a movable clay type printing, they were able to make it easier for themselves and more efficient and print much more. And then we can move on to the electric telegraph, which is a point-to-point text messaging system, which I can't imagine right now, that with all the evolution to media and technology, that someone could use this. But I thought that was a very incredible a piece of media. And then we have, of course, from the 1920, the invention of TV and the first radio, and that obviously shifted the evolution of media from the more, let's call them analog to digital type of media. And then, of course, the VCR were introduced, always adding to the media, which VCRs obviously they can record on the television. And then from 2002, TV standards completely changed from analog to digital, creating or starting the digital era that we live in currently. And today, what's interesting about today, if you were to look up the types of media, you would find not only what you would expect is social media and movies, music, video games. You can also find print, which we will discuss more later on in the presentation. What we wanted to show from this timeline is how the evolution of media started and where it is at now. I'm so sorry, and how every single piece of media that was created has a purpose, and and we want to discuss the purpose right now, because we think the media is has a very strong hold over the generation currently, or the world actually. So the purposes of media we wanted to discuss is, first, of course, is getting the information out there. As previously mentioned, that we need to be active on the media and social media and all of it, especially right now with everything that's happening. I think getting the information out there is the number one thing that everyone is understanding, and everyone is realizing the power of media and the power it actually holds by getting the correct information out there. And of course, that comes with educating, and with educating, since we are very blessed to have globalization and how it affected, and we reached here, we are able to reach billions of people just from the comfort of our own home, which is the most incredible power that the media gives us, and all forms of media give us. Like everything we mentioned in the timeline, it was used as a form of communication and a form of getting the information out there. And of course, one of the is advertising. It's always said that the media is trying to sell you something, whether it's a product, a service, or even an ideology, which actually correlates to getting the information out there, because it's always trying to sell an idea to you. And nowadays everyone's getting more active, and they're understanding maybe the manipulation that's happening online, or everything that maybe certain medias are trying to sell, which shows the power and also destruction of media as well. And of course, the correlations of parts of society, which is all the purposes of media, you feel like they are interlinked and they're one purpose, which all advanced in the globalization and digitalization of the world, because now we are able to connect with so many people all across the globe, and all across different cultures and different languages, all again from the comfort of our own home. And of course, number 5 is entertainment. We all get entertainment from media in any shape or form, even if it's one of the oldest media forms that we discussed in the timeline. It was always a mean of entertainment for a lot of people. So it's not only informative and educational, it's also entertaining. And now I'm going to pass the mic on to my colleague Huda, and she's going to talk more about the transition of traditional to digital media.
Thank you, Rama, so much. I'm going to start with talking about the transition of traditional to digital media, which is, for me, and I think for Rama as well, it was a very interesting question, because from the timeline that Rama has shared, it shows how great, let's call it, traditional media was, and how excited and interested people were in it. What was the main reason that made us shift, or call it transition, from traditional to digital media? Well, also, from the purpose of media, as Ram has shared, now we know that, or we already have known that, but she's put the light on it, is that media is there to entertain, educate, engage its audience. But we should also remember something that's very important, which is that media is very highly dependent on human psychology and behavior. It studies our behavior and our needs, with how our life is changing on daily basis and developing on daily basis, and studying how our needs are being changed based on that. Which should not be a surprise, actually, because if I check my social media accounts and you check yours, each one of you, we're going to notice that they're totally different, or maybe at least they're not identical. That's because the media, or digital media, is creating something that I'm going to call it some kind of a digital print, where it studies what your interests are, your personality, your wants and needs, what you search for, and it provides you a very customized content to you. So because my character is different from yours, and my, let's call it, a print is different from yours, they're never identical at all, just like a human print. Thus, our needs are different, and based on that, our requirements, or the content that we're interested in receiving is different. Yes, of course. Well, with the transition of traditional to digital media could be, or usually is known for lower costs and higher profits, and that's compatible with our willingness to pay and all of that, and advanced targeting. But actually, the star here is that digital print. It's something that we cannot have, or unfortunately is it's not a little bit, it's a lot. it's challenging for traditional media to provide. For example, you cannot have a TV channel that provides different customized TV show at the same time for each member, while it's very easily possible if we say YouTube, for example. So yeah, the whole transition of traditional to digital media is because digital media has this very unique feature of customizing content for each of its audience. Plus, of course, the other famous reasons, but this is the start of the show for now. Rama, can you move on to the next one? Thank you. Yeah, the next part that I wanted to talk about in this presentation is the future of traditional and digital media. Of course, with all the benefits and promises of digital media, the ones that we already know and the one that I've just mentioned before, you would imagine that all companies from all sectors and all fields to just jump on the digital media bandwagon and just kill traditional media, if I can use this term, and just be highly fully dependent 100% on digital media. However, if we look at the market currently, big companies, especially in the media world, they're not doing that. Actually, they're serving their customers through and with both traditional and digital media, which makes us stop here and like take a pause and think about it. Why are big companies, especially in the media world, are taking that or doing that? Why are they still dependent on traditional and digital media? Why are they not abandoning traditional media? Now, a lot of people would argue that actually traditional media is coming to a very near dead end. There, it's not going, maybe in 10, 15, 20 years, it won't be there anymore. Maybe it's just a classic history. It's going to be in the archive. We're just going to mention it as a part of the timeline that Rama has mentioned, not anything more than that, no more benefit of it. But from what we have discussed so far, both me and Rama in our presentation, I think we could come to a closer idea or to a conclusion that digital media is not there to necessarily replace traditional media. It's more of an advanced version of traditional media. It's taking the lead from or hand in hand with traditional media, but leading, of course, has the leading role in to serve our growing needs and our constantly developing and changing lifestyle that the traditional media is incapable of keeping up with. Um, and of course, as I said, you'd be surprised that big major companies, let's say the New York Times or one famous book house, which is called the Penguin Random House, a very one of the biggest book houses that you would go to purchase like either book or like a collection of books if you have let's say a small bookstore, or maybe the bookstore at your university could go there and get some books from there. So it's like a resource of books. These companies, which are considered traditional media, are using digital media through digital newsletters. Now you're capable of checking the New York Times digitally with subscription. However, they still serve their content through and with traditional media. There are so many reasons behind it. A lot of it is actually financial, and we do not want to get into that. However, we kind of need to know the background of it. The reason is now digital media has some great upward heading slope of growth, very quick growth in terms of use, in terms of interest, in terms of benefits as well. However, traditional media has kept its place, meaning it's bringing the same profit, and as well it explains that people are still interested in traditional media, whether it's receiving their content through traditional media or actually entertaining themselves with traditional media. And that means that traditional media is actually still a reliable and safe option that will not be abandoned soon, that it will still be there. And as I've explained earlier, is that traditional and digital media are not there to compete. They are there to complement each other. Traditional media is still requested and required. It's not just one step on the timeline. It will be there, hopefully for good. However, digital media is just there to transition the message or the actual content. Let's think about it this way, that traditional media is the content creator, and that digital media is the way that we receive that actual content. Think about it that traditional media is more reliable. You need more credibility. It has more credibility. Maybe digital media is more of shared by everyone. It's not necessarily all true. It's not necessarily all accurate. And of course, people are also used to receiving traditional media through traditional media platforms. So it's very difficult to think of it that it will be abandoned soon. And our predictions, me and Rama, based on our research, based on everything that we have said, is that both forms of media will have an initial role, as they have been for many years, of course, more years for traditional media in our daily lives. Whereas digital media will continuously evolve to keep up with our needs, while the traditional media is the credible source of the media content for digital media. I hope I was not going too quick. That's pretty much it for us. I hope I was not going too quick, and I'll be looking. Thank you so much, of course, for your time and attention, and I hope looking forward for your questions by the actual end of all presentations.
We thank you both, Huda and Rama. Thank you very much for your contribution. It was a very informative and, let's say, beneficial presentation that contained many useful information that many of us would be sure to use later on whenever needed. Next on the list, we've got two of our friends, Edna Hachimich, I think. I hope I and Abdurrahman Khalid, who are both baccalaureate students of New Media and Communication at Ibn Khaldun University. They will be talking about they will be giving us a presentation on comparative reviews of past, present, and a unique prediction of the future interactive TV. Whenever you guys are ready, the mic is yours.
Okay,
The floor
thank
is
you.
yours. You're
I'll be
welcome.
sharing the screen. Are you able to see my screen right now?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. So hello everyone. Welcome to our presentation today. We'll be giving a presentation about the past, the present, and then we will be discussing about the future and other similar, relatively similar topics related to the television. Okay. So to start off, before diving into our topic, firstly we would like to familiarize you with some concepts. So one of these concepts is a medium. So what is a medium? It can be defined primarily as a channel or a middle ground between the sender and the receiver of the content. But this definition doesn't really cover the mere scope of the concept. So the medium can actually be anything. It may range from person's voice, writing, clothing, and body language to forms of mass communication, such as newspapers, for example, television, and the internet. For example, here in public speaking, my voice can be defined as a medium. Similarly, television is also a medium. It is a medium that we use daily. That is why we call it a domestic one, because it has found its place in all of our homes. It is important to be reminded what the medium is, so you can understand what kind of a medium television will be or is. Right?
Okay, thank you. I had a problem unmuting myself. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. It's Abdurrahman. We'll just start, and I would like to start with a tiny, very small question here. The question of what is TV? I'd like to know what you think TV is. I'd like to know your opinions. So I'll be asking someone, not to waste so much time. I would be choosing, I think. So what I want is basically tell me, according to your opinion, to what you think is true. Basically, try to provide a sort of definition. What do you think TV is? So if anyone wants to participate or to comment, just go ahead. We might ask someone, so let's see.
If you'd like, if I may suggest, Abdurrahman,
Yeah.
whoever has got a good answer that he would like to share, they can just write it on chat if it's okay with you, and if it's
okay. It also works. So I'll be waiting for them to write in the chat,
okay.
And also Omar, you can, I think, answer if you can.
Okay.
Okay. A brief definition of what you think TV is.
Okay, so I think Hassan Hadi raised his hand. Maybe we can hear his voice. I'd like to. Okay.
Yes, I wasn't able to speak before because I couldn't, like, I needed to unmute
Yeah, that's
myself.
true. That's true.
Yeah.
I faced the same problems.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what is TV? Like, maybe simply I can say it's a medium, like one of the mediums we have that, like one of the main medium in the world today to see the flow of media and so on. Simply I can say, I don't know if I'm mistaken, or you are referring to another idea.
No. Great. It's just great. Is there anyone else who wants to share? Thanks, of course. Okay, if there is no, actually the question of what TV is seems simple to answer. It seems simple enough to answer, but the truth is that if we look closely, it's quite a challenge. Because when we say TV, like, is TV the signal our devices receive? Is it the box that sits in our homes? Is it both, or is it neither? There are many attempts to explain what TV is. So some say it's a system for converting visual images with sound into electrical signals, transmitting and displaying them on a screen. Others say it's an electronic telecommunication medium used for transmitting moving images. And according to the Oxford Dictionary, a TV is simply a device with a screen for receiving broadcasted content. However, we came to the conclusion that there is no simple answer for this question, what is TV? Because all of the definitions mentioned here, they only cover one side of TV, which is the technical side, neglecting all the other sides, the social, political, and economical sides and aspects. The concept of TV includes. So what is TV? Perhaps our next point will help us reach or find an answer.
Okay, so what is TV and what makes TV different? So in order to understand what TV is, it's important to compare it with other similar mediums and see what distinguishes it and makes it unique. So firstly, from the technical perspective, when comparing television to other media such as radio and print, the TV stands superior in a sense that it has all the elements combined. So it has sound, moving pictures, and text. What this means is that television captures the attention more efficiently and combines the elements of previously successful media, making it not only superior, but also more energetic and dynamic. So some of the factors that make TV different are its credibility as well. Because TV has a long history, and the main reason the TV is still relevant today in the face of growing competition is this history, and it has a strong brand, so it has a positive reputation, making it an incredible source of information and as well as fast source of information. Another point is privacy. So privacy has been always important to the audience, as we know. We can say that television is quite a private medium where one cannot be tracked or watched from the other side, unlike the internet. So it is why this medium is actually preferred with families with children. So the audience can choose the child-safe programs and channels and without getting inappropriate content and side advertisement. But from the social side as well, the television has a crucial part of everyday culture. So it serves as an introduction to all other mediums. The information popularized by the television becomes much more followed, popular, and relevant. So TV is a reflection of culture and social reality. We can say it's like a music. It's kind of a social ritual we all share. It is produced for a mass audience, which makes it a part of popular culture. It transmits usually some cultural values or dominant ideology. It is capable of satisfying the cultural needs of diverse group of viewers. TV is an agent of socialization, so we construct our identities, our opinions, based on different representations and role models that we see on television. So, as we know, television has introduced us to the Western culture through the shows like Friends, Simpsons, Mr. Bean, etc. So, this is a very important aspect. And another one that is quite crucial is that television has aided specialists in the communication field. What we mean to say it has aided specialists in creating media theories. So some of the most popular theories, such as hypodermic needle theory or agenda setting theory, has been developed and studied for a long time with the direct influence of television.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit now about why TV, meaning why was TV invented in the first place and how it was pulled into existence. And to answer this question, I think we need to understand how any new invention is invented or pulled into existence. So according to Marshall T. Book on History of Communication, his book is named History of Media and Communication. By the way, it's a great book. I advise you all to buy it and read it. Very simple too. So he states the organized interests combined with the demand leads to supply, and then eventually it pulls the new medium into existence. So this interaction between demand and supply is as basic as that. Demand comes first, and then supply follows. Because once a new invention is considered as successful, like invention, investors and stakeholders start immediately thinking of investing in this new industry or this medium. And it will ultimately lead to more advancements and improvements on this new product, which will then lead to more demand and then more supply, and we enter this vicious circle. So, why was TV invented after all, when there was already the radio, newspapers, and other means of similar functions? This happened, as we said, because of the rising demand, together with the organized interest for such a service, and then the supply followed shortly after. To understand how was TV needed, we'll see in the next point.
So how was TV needed? As the theory Uses and Gratification states, which doesn't see media users as passive but active, it states that people use TV in order to satisfy their needs, so to gratify specific needs and wants. Three main reasons of this is most likely first one is the entertainment. So as a creator of television said himself, he had always had an interest in moving images and found that combining the pictures with the sound one can gain an extraordinary experience. So another possible reason of why was television invented was the social aspect of it. So there arose a need for activities that would allow people to gather at homes and spend time with each other. This was already possible, of course, with the cinema, but television allowed these social activities to be performed in a home environment, and they were significantly cheaper. So also another point is that government needed some kind of medium and tool to control the masses. Thus through TV, it could do so to a large extent, basically by controlling the content and who is presenting it. For example, the brainwashing abilities of the content that is displayed on TV has reshaped many societies in ways that we don't even know yet. So lastly, gaining profit was usually been a considerable reason to invent new technologies. Similarly, the mass television production has been a profitable industry for many companies around the world. So in conclusions, we have these aspects of demand, namely the need for social activities for families in a safe environment, entertainment. This is what kept the relevancy of the medium. Always something new arose, which kept the medium going for a long time. Then we have control. So government welcomed the idea of TV because using entertainment could give them an opportunity to control the masses. And lastly, it was profit. So while we reviewed these reasons, now we will take a step back into the past. So the invention of television has always been a vision of many. The desire for such service became a reality in the mid-1930s. So the world's first electronic television was developed by a 21-year-old inventor named Philo Taylor Farnsworth. So we can say for the early television, it was quite a primitive invention. So the content you broadcasted was usually borrowed from radio programs. And the technical side had many difficulties catching up with the growing demand. So between 1953s and 54s, however, programming began to change. It began to take some steps away from radio programs. So there arose new formats such as movies, magazines, and youth-oriented shows. So this is usually referred as the golden age of television, where both the demand and the supply were high enough and they were steadily increasing.
Okay. Before proceeding into the future dreams about TV, let's take a look about to the state. Let's take a look at the state of TV right now. So nowadays, even though many still keep underestimating the role of TV nowadays, many others admit its role as a source, an important source for news and entertainment. We can say television has entered into a hybrid mode, so a hybrid stage, slowly moving from the traditional means of transmitting information by combining the social media and internet. It's slowly transforming into a two-way communication instead of one-way communication. It's highly accessible now, relatively cheap, and can be used by all generations in all environments. We see it nearly in every company. It's nearly also approximately in every house. So this is happening also, this is important. It happens without the technology gap that occur when a new device or new devices are introduced usually. Also, nowadays, more than ever, TV is the place where we, the consumers, have the ability to see the products advertised to us all the time, and it leads us to spending more and wanting more. This means, as we have said, more demand on TV and leads to more supply and more advertisements. More advancements. So the product is improving the medium, and it goes again into a vicious circle, the continuity. It continues this way. More demand, more supply, more improvement, and again, more demand, etc.
Okay, now we'll be talking about the possible future of television. So the future of TV most probably lies in interactivity, since the passiveness was one of the huge drawbacks of TV today. So one way of achieving this interactivity might be through the VR technology as well. So let's first define what interactive television is. So interactive television is an extension of the traditional TV where the users can interact with the content, changing the appearance of what is displayed or having an impact on the display in some way, rather than consuming passively. So interactive TV increases engagement levels by enabling user participation and feedback. It can also become a part of a joint living room and be controlled by using devices other than remote control, like mobile phones, tablets, and some other means of controlling. So television could become a two-way communication where the audience will be the main factor in deciding the flow, the quality, and also the quantity of the information. There has already been a few attempts to make this interaction available to the audiences through the Netflix series The Black Mirror and You vs. Wild show, where the audience could interact with the content directly and influence the choices, which would lead and influence the ending of the series, making it different for each viewer. This was a very new experience, and exploration of this concept was on certain platforms like Netflix, Hulu, and YouTube, but it hasn't reached the traditional TV yet.
Okay. We can say, when we talk about the future, since an interactive service needs to be online, offline services will be limited in future TVs, most probably. So there is a possibility that TV moves completely to the online sphere, where the audience would purchase bundles of channels to watch through their smart devices, their smartphones. It would maybe remove the need for channel serving, and it would make it easier to access the content. Like, think of a fully online interactive TV services with no more cable TV anymore. Also, the features of interactive TV could merge with the VR technology by giving the user all in one experience. So you choose the content you want to watch based on what you prefer, your lifestyle, it's your political and social opinions, preferences, interactions. And also by using this, you can see here, we have the VR technology. By using these VR glasses, TV isn't static anymore. It could be everywhere at any time. So we have briefly a full interaction with the whole body. Also, advertisements could also be personalized, and they might use the user's data, as we could see to some extent in nowadays social media. So they could use the user's data, like pictures and the facial recognition, like the technology, to put them in advertised scenarios. So, for instance, how do you feel about seeing yourself as the new driver of the brand car?
So this facial recognition is another aspect of the future, and the use of cameras as well is a part of interactive process. It might also include, apart from this, some services like Siri and Alexa that we have today, which would ultimately make this user experience much better, but it would have some privacy issues. So television could basically observe your mood through the cameras and environment which you're in, and it will help you customize the content as needed. So if you're an avid watcher of sports, for example, TV would promote sport channels, sport gear advertisements. They would offer you exclusive interviews that no one else can access, and advertisements of the products and suggestions of places to go and visit, etc. So given all the mentioned, we believe what truly will shape the future is the demand for content and where that content is watched on. So they are the driving force of all the media and are applied to television as well. The users of the future will determine the lifespan of television. What people want to watch and where they want to watch it will determine what will happen to the television. Will it exist or will it disappear?
Okay, after all this, and in our ending part, we have one more question. Since perhaps in the future we might have a fully interactive TV services, a fully online experience, meaning less privacy, on-demand services, so you watch what you want, controllable TV, you can pause, you can stop it, you can start it from the beginning, customizable, so I watch where and when I want, and even maybe my TV can watch me while I'm watching it in my living room. So since all of this interactive and online services might be in future TVs, how is then TV different from my smartphone right now or any other medium that are doing these exact functions? Well, I think it seems to be similar after all. And maybe after a while, the distinction between television and smartphones will completely disappear. We won't know, of course, now. We should wait to the future. Anyway, a lot of questions were introduced and asked today. We tried our best to answer them in a proper way. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening.
And of
Thank you
course,
very
if you have
much.
any questions and comments, we'll be glad to hear them.
Yes, just before we move to the discussion part, Ali Hoja asked on the chat, do you relate what you just mentioned, Abdulrahman, in your last sentences? Is it like 1984, the novel?
By George Orwell, isn't it?
Coming down?
I haven't read it, to be honest.
You haven't read the novel. Okay,
Exactly.
so you're
No.
not sure. All right. We thank you both, Abdulrahman and Edna, for your rich and terrific presentation. It was very useful for each and every one of us. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to your favorite part of our session, the discussion part. So whoever has a question can raise his or her hand, and we'll hand them the mic to ask away. So, ladies and gentlemen, let the questions get coming. Does anybody like? Is anybody willing to ask any question? Okay.
Okay, as far as I
Fair
understood,
enough. So I'll start. I've got
okay.
a question to Hassan. Let's start with Hassan's anime because I am a big fan of anime myself. And the other day, last semester, I made a presentation on a very well-known piece of work, anime piece of work. It's called Full Metal Alchemist. Now, I don't know if you guys really watch animations or Japanese anime. Not, it's not necessarily a must be Japanese animation, but generally speaking, because the Japanese anime now with the development and the improvement of technologies, the techniques in making animation, they also have some ideological aspects stuck and stuffed in their work. So there's this animation called Full Metal Alchemist, for instance, if any of you guys watched it, or Death Note. These pieces of anime, for instance, they show you some, or they, put some certain terms in question for the audience to, they start questioning themselves. What is God? What's life? What is deep questions, actually, as a matter of fact. And I wouldn't recommend a young, ignorant child to watch such stuff because they would be lost at the end of the day. So, Hassan, my question to you is: do you think who do you think affects the other? Is it the globalization and the let's say the spreading of the ideological thoughts that affect the anime and the anime industry, or do you think that that the anime industry itself is a medium or a way for such thoughts and such let's say things to spread around to is it a way for globalization, for instance? Because I think who was I'm not really sure. I think it was Alassana who talked about the difference between westernization, Americanization, and globalization in his presentation. So what do you think about this, Hassan? Do you think, I hope the question is not too tough or hard.
Yes. Actually, it is hard, and this is why many papers and research are made on this topic. For me, with my simple, humble knowledge, I would say two comments. First thing, since you are in the system, in interaction relation, you should be, the system should have an impact on you, definitely. So globalization is influencing enemy, and the other way is also valid. With that being said, I believe the enemy kept its or most of its unique elements of the Japanese culture. And this is very obvious. Like, since I think you watch several anime series, you can see how those people keep their culture, the beliefs from their culture, their religion and their faith, some of their habits. So these things didn't change. And even they till today, most of the anime series are initially made in Japanese language. So they don't make them in English. Actually, today, either like production companies or producing and so on, or even fans are the ones mostly translating the anime. So as we see, I refer to this idea in my presentation. I see anime as a unique cultural product of the Japanese culture, and it's keeping its elements. And this is one of the reasons why it's becoming global trend. And this is also an evidence that there is not only one like dominating culture over the whole world. I think this is about to finish. But again, as I said, we need to know how to represent and take a role in this world first. Second, this system, the globalization system and so on, is definitely gonna impact us, and definitely gonna force us to change some of the aspects in our culture product that we're going to present to the world. Why? Because there are some aspects are very local, and you need to change them if you want to enter the system. But at the same time, this is not meaning that you are getting rid of the uniqueness of your culture product. And this is shown in the Japanese enemy example. I don't know if my comment was clear, but this is what I think in general.
Actually, it was crystal clear, and the way you mentioned it, the way you mentioned how the animation, Japanese animations, Japanese anime, kind of kept the Japanese culture focused on in their, perspective animes. It's the same way that I think that the American cinema, Hollywood cinemas, films, whenever the world is in danger, whenever there are aliens invading the world, they always seem to appear in America, the United States of America. And I think it's the same when we come and look at the Japanese animation. Most of the events, if not in a parallel world, it happens or occurs basically or mainly in the Japanese lands. I thank you very much, Hassan, but I'd like to also, redirect the question to Huda and Ramadmur. I'd like to listen, we'd like to listen to your opinions regarding this animation thingy. Since you both study at the SAE, pardon, in Jordan, I think you guys are already, first in line regarding this matter. So we'd like to listen.
We study digital media design, which is basically graphic design for digital media, including social media, including printables and all of that, but not necessarily in animation. We have covered 2D animation a little bit slightly, but mainly it's for social media. So we're very, very beginners in that, I would say. Yes, so we don't necessarily do animation. We actually have at SAE, you can study the major of animation there, but we don't have that much experience, so don't expect to have an expert answer anything from us. You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. And Rama, do you go along with Huda on that, or do you have your own perspective on the matter?
No, yeah, we definitely didn't study animation, which is
okay.
But yeah, we don't know much.
Okay. Right. Here I see in chat, Ali Hojam had asked a very good question here. I think the question was mainly, but not only, directed to Edna and Abdulrahman. Do you think television is in its final days as a news source? Will social media and internet end TV journalism? What do you have to comment on that, Abdulrahman and Edna? Let's start with you guys, and if our other presenters have, their own opinions, we can hand in the mic as well.
Okay, so see, Edna, do you have something to say?
Well, we discussed about this, that one key element is actual credibility and the long history that television has especially among older people. We, the young generation, perhaps don't really rely on television right now, but the older generation is keeping it running and going. So I don't think it will automatically disappear like this. It might change, or even there was an idea, it might actually become local. So the television might only cover the local news, while the world news could only be found online. So this was a possible scenario maybe in the future which would keep the television relevant in some local areas. But I'm not sure. It's hard to predict.
Yeah, I think I do agree. Yeah, sorry, there are some noises. So I think I do agree. Yes, there's some speculations about the future, as Edna mentioned, about having local news in the on TV, using the cable TV, and all the other news of the great TV news channels, like for example CNN, BBC, and etc. They become what do we say, global instead, and they go online. they go to the online sphere instead of being like at cable TV. So this is a possible scenario. But not only this, like the how much the investment, like the great investment in advertisements for at least the coming 10 years is so huge that you'd think absolutely no, not soon. I don't think like the TV and the news source as the news source will be replaced by social media, because basically there are 2 points. The first is the social media theory. I'm sorry, the media theories we mentioned about it, like how media theories, most of them were built on the one-way communication. Like let's say like they're shaped and formed and theorized as a one-way communication, and this was found in TV. So when you want to make a survey between social media users and TV users, you're going to use so many different they cannot be the same, so the same methods, and you will get absolutely different results because of the way both works. I mean, it's not the same. It's not the same. So this is one thing. Social media cannot, I don't think it cannot replace it, and internet cannot replace it. It's more interactive, and the results of any survey is going to be done in terms of the academic sphere is going to be different. So I don't think, no, it cannot replace it. This is one thing. The second thing is the credibility part, because social media, the trends of social media and everything is dependent on the public opinion, on what's going on in the public. TV, as has been mentioned too, is we can say is what is the introduction of all other mediums. So when something important happens and goes on TV, then you can absolutely see it and people talk about it in the social media. So I don't think they are different. They are different. I'm talking about the concept of TV. If we have, as we said, a fully interactive TV and online, etc. TV, so basically TV dies. The concept of TV dies. We have only screens. So this is a possibility. But in terms of TV, the function TV does, the concept, the true concept of TV cannot be replaced by anything. It might die, yeah, but cannot be replaced by anything. I think so. In terms of news and credibility.
Okay. Is anyone willing to add on Abdul Rahman's and Edna's answers, or shall I ask another question? Because apparently not many of us have got questions here. Okay, so I'd just like to ask one more question, which is a bit more, imaginative. You guys talked about how TV is slowly changing to be an interactive, it's like an interactive way or course of development. Apparently, there are shows that the audience, the viewers of the show can change or choose how an ending or how the course of the scenes would go according to their own willings and of a few, options or guidelines that are already drawn. So, do you believe that television as a mass media, would change its, what do we call it? Its aim, its the reason of its whole existence. Because from where I see it, when there are two, sides on TV that are both active, I believe that TV should have a passive side of, to some extent, at least to some extent. So do you believe that TV would lose its aim and would lose its effect, let's say, and reason of existence if both sides were interactive? I'd leave the answer to you guys. And if anybody else would like to answer and give his own opinion, we're all ears. What do you think? Is my question clear? Should I ask it in another way or another matter? Okay, here Ali Hoja, I think is answering.
Kindly rephrase it.
I will rephrase it, but let's. Okay, so I basically asked. TV has two sides, yeah, the sender and the receiver side, the audience, and the let's say the presenters in TV itself. So the TV, as the way we know it now, there's a passive and there's an active side for TV. So as Edna and Abdurrahman mentioned in their presentations, TV is taking a course where both sides are active or can become active or interactive. So if this happens, do you think that TV would lose its own reason of existence, its aim? Because usually TV is just something to, for instance, as in news, when we're talking about news on TV regarding events that happen around the world, I can't see it two-sided. I just can't see. The only way I imagine it actually is that there's the side that gives the information. There's the other side that receives the information. So if it's interactive, how do you think things will go? Edna, I think you've got an answer or comment.
Well, I think if this interactive side is applied to the entertainment function of television, it could work very well because it would provide more layers and it would make it more interesting and interactive for the viewers. And it would make it kind of a unique experience for everyone watching. And then it could lead people to talking about it more and wanting more of that content. But I don't think it can be applied to some news, for example, to some informational side of TV, of getting information, because this technology, it might be applied when watching documentaries, for example, while TV is suggesting you certain documentaries based on your what do you watch, what do you prefer. But for direct information, I believe it cannot happen. You cannot really have both active sides for the news coverage. So I think it might only cover the entertainment side of television. And I see it, that's the only possible way of this technology actually coming alive.
Okay, I'd like also to add something here, which I intended to add as a point in the presentation. As you could see, it was a very long presentation, took about 22 minutes, maybe or more. So we canceled the idea. What I was trying to say, the traditional TV, with all its shortcomings, it's still good. Like it can work in the future. I think so. Like there are some places we might have two TVs, like the one, the interactive, the online TV, which I don't call TV anymore because it doesn't have privacy, cams. We have everything that is not related to the TV, the concept. So, and we might have the traditional TV, like it's still useful maybe in the governmental places and coffee shops where no one is needed to control and remote on demand things. So it's something you should just watch. It's one-way communication, and it's good. I think somehow yes, still good. So I think as I said.
I think something wrong with his internet.
Let's say property of the future TVs. Is it for just some? Yeah, of course. Okay. Can you
No,
guys hear me?
I mean your internet was cracking.
Okay, now can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Is it better? Okay. So I was saying, I forgot what I was saying. Yeah. So do you believe, Abdurrahman and everybody else, that the interactive type of TVs that will be coming in the future, is it, or will it be working only for some certain programs like TV shows maybe, or for movies? I don't think, because I don't see it working for news. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, for me, I do agree with Edna what she has said right now, because maybe for entertainment, music, and other kind of stuffs, it could be used to like show interactive where we can have two-way communications and simultaneous communication, so on. But for for political speech, for news, it will show chaos to have an interactive TV, which it could demolish all the ideals TV convey, So I don't think so. That would be good idea. And even those who own the TVs, I don't think they would be ready to deliver that kind of facility.
Okay, thank you, Alassana. If anybody got anything to add on this topic? Okay, there's Abdurrahman. Okay, Abdurrahman is this okay? It doesn't have to die. I mean, however, this is determined by the demand-supply equation in the end. Okay.
I want to
yes.
disagree with Abdurrahman what he has said before that. Maybe if that happened, we might not have something to replace TV. I think technology is forwarding more, and we can see the rapid changes in technology. Like so sometimes for youth, we no longer consider TV. We don't even use it. For me, like I don't know, I can't remember the time I sit in front of TV and watching TV. So we have tools and devices where we are satisfied with them than TV. So I think we have an option. I think we have an alternatives.
So you're saying that because we've got the alternatives, TV is coming to an end, unlike what Abdurrahman.
Yeah, it like I wouldn't say that it coming to an end because it also play its roles in the society. For community, people watch it, but for youth, it is very rare. And if this continued, TV will be meant for only a specific purpose, not for in general. Like maybe for like at home, when people wanted to watch news, as Edna said, local news, they can focus on TV, maybe. Or you want to watch a specific like TV series, maybe that is playing in your local community, and like as a disposal or as a specific time, you can watch TV for that matter. But even that is rare because people have like they have the live streams where you can go to like any like their web page. You can use Netflix or Foxflix and any kind of facilities that may be available for you. So I think we have more options to say that TV cannot be replaced by anything else.
Okay, so anybody has got anything to add on Alassana's points and answer? Haki hocam, buyurun.
And I don't want to contradict what Alassana said, but it depends on you collectively are thinking. I mean, if you ask me or my generation, we would gladly stay in the confines of television, but your generation is not on. I am watching my youngsters here, my niece, my nephews, and everything, and also my brother-in-law's daughter is with us, and I see that she doesn't even look towards the television set. I mean, there's no such a thing in your worldview, something named a television station, television set, television broadcast. I show something important on television and she says, okay, I'll watch it here, uncle. It is stupid telephone. I mean, that small thing. But the difference is this, Alassana, it gives you the total control. You decide when and how and where to watch and access to the information. I think this is going to have some impact on you guys or the people who are going to follow you, the alpha generation. I mean, I don't think that any alpha generation is ever going to look into any telephone, any screen larger than a telephone. Thanks for listening. I couldn't help myself, but I don't want to interfere with your discussions.
Thank you. We thank you, Hojam, for your contribution.
Thank you, Hojam.
More than happy
even
to.
like these TVs, the new models now, for me, I no longer consider them TV, because they are just like social media, where you have YouTube, where you have like all kind of pages where you can enter and watch. So the TV also been digitalized as if social media, So we can see these changes. So to an extent that I don't even think that it would be like under our control, because they digitalize everything. And the way we can see these rapid changes in technology, and TV will be just like social media. You can even use your Facebook on TV. You'll be using your Instagram on TV. You'll be using your Twitter on TV.
Thank you very much, Alassana, again. Haneen is asking a question. She's saying in her question, she's asking, don't you think that if we started getting news from social media, rumors will increase and spread more due to easy access for everyone to share anything? If so, how do you think we can decrease or avoid rumors? Dear presenters, the question is to you. How can you answer this question, guys?
I can say something. So the presence of fake news is very like apparent today on the internet. That's why most of the people, I mean from the older generation, usually relies on the news they see on television. So that is one plus of television. But in order to decrease or avoid rumors, I think the only thing we can do is to educate people on where to find the information. So by the verified accounts and what those accounts are. And I don't think there is necessarily a very strategic way to avoid rumors, but the education of people on what is proper information and who to trust, I think is the main like solution. And that is all, I think.
Yeah, I think I would agree with Edna for this thing also. Like social media, of course, it has its advantages and disadvantages when it comes to spreading of information. But I think like the way social media help us to get access to information is kind of, it is mind-boggling sometimes, because right now each and every one of us can get access to information, can write something on social media, and to correspond our audience on social media. So of course we can see that how like that can be speculative, how we can see the misinformations being spread on social media. Yeah, but for in other aspect, when we see social media, we will understand that social media like play a massive role, a significant role in enhancing spreading of information, enhancing like digitalization, enhancing the globalization, and how people interact. So I think when we are looking to that perspective also, we will see that social media is a good thing, and it helps us to get a credible information as well. Of course, it has its problems, but we cannot also discredit the kind of role it plays in our society.
Thank you very much, Alassana. Guys, has anybody else got any question or any comment to add on the topics that we've covered? Anybody? Well, I thank you. Okay. Haneen, Khufash is thanking you all, guys, for answering her question, I believe. If I may ask you, Alassana, just one quick question regarding your own presentation. You asked at the end, or you told us that the questions are actually, the key questions are, is globalization a process of cultural homogenization, or hybridization. And you also ask who has the power to create media, distribute media, and so on. What do you personally think? Who is the one who, or who are the people, the ones that create the media to be spread around? If you've got a
Yeah,
specific answer.
this one may be different because I also was thinking about it. So I prepared the questions to discuss them with my colleagues for us to think about it as well. For our generation right now, who owns the media? Like who create the content of media? Like who distributes the media and who consume the media? So I also ask, is this globalization, is a cultural homogenization or hybridization? So these are key questions. So for regarding who owns the media right now, like it is so difficult to tell something. We can see the open way of everyone accessing to media, but this also has a limitation because those owning the, like for example, let's say Twitter, those owning the Twitter, as much as you can access to the informations, there would be a time when you'll be restricted. You'll be restricted. Looking like we can give the example what is trending right now, for example, Palestine, like what is occurring there. People have access to social media and we are spreading information, but you can say also there are figures that co-point there, they are trying to restrict you to get the information to your audience. So when we see these products about the access to information can be also a mind-blowing question. Like we can see two parts of it. So regarding the question also, like, is it a homogenization or hybridization? To my personal opinion, I think globalization can be regarded as a hybridization, not homogenization. When you say homogenization, it is regional, like it is unified body based on region or based on a specific culture or based on a specific race, but those people will come together and form their business. But for me, I think as far as media can be used, can be included in globalization, I think so we will regard it as hybridization, where you have the transnational kind of collaboration to spread information when it will reach to all corners of the world. That is my personal opinion. And there are many questions also who consume the media, who create the content of media. So I can leave that to my colleagues if they have any opinion to say about that.
Right, Alassana's colleagues, friends, who would like to start with answering Alassana's questions that he had, asked us at the end of his presentation? Who are the people that consume the media, and who are the ones that censor the media, for instance? Would anybody like to contribute an answer? Well, I believe I personally, I'll start with answering. I believe there are always targets for each type of media. I mean, even if you look at Facebook, if you're going to do some, what do we call it, sponsorship for any type of thing, or for any type of media or product, you've got target people that you would like to reach. And I believe media has the same aspect. Let's say that there are specific targets that this media or this piece of media would like to reach. There are also gatekeepers, if you ever heard of something like that. The gatekeepers are the ones that allow the piece of media to pass from one side to the other, from the sender to the receiver. Is it, is it legal in terms of law, media law, that the gatekeepers themselves assign, and so on. So the consumers, according, let's say, to Noam Chomsky's theory that I talked about. Okay, friends, is my voice clear? I'm very sorry. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so sorry for the blurring effects that were happening just a moment ago. So, according to Noam Chomsky's theory, which is content, which is basically talks about the manufacturing content. Let's say the viewers, us, the ones that receive the media, are the ones that consume it. There are certain political and economic powers that sell us to the advertisers that feed us with the media that they all personally let's say decide on. I have, if you'd like, I can send you all on chat a small link to a small video on YouTube that was very, very useful to me, and it was, I think, done and made, prepared by Al Jazeera. It talks right on this one. Let's say now Chomsky manufacturing content. Let's say this is the link. I'll just share the link with you guys, and you can watch it whenever you guys feel free to watch. I think the answers to your questions, Alessandra, can be found in this theory regarding manufacturing content that Noam Chomsky talked about. Guys, since now we're at also almost at the end of the yeah, it's the same video we're talking about, Mr. Ali. Thank you very much, Ali Hoja. Okay, so guys, if anybody has any other comment or question to ask, feel free. Okay, so I think it's time that I do like everybody else does and just share the screen and show you guys your certificates that we'll be sending you right after the session. Hopefully, we'll be sending you these certificates in PDF form. Each of you has his own certificate. At the end of our presentation, guys, I'd like to thank you all. I'd like to thank, first of all, let's say, first of all, the president of Ibn Khaldun University, Mr. Dr. Attila Arkan. I would also like to thank Mrs. Ismail Rifai, the ambassador of Jordan to Turkey, Dr. Amjad Safori, the Dean of Faculty of Media at the Sarkar University, the Head of Media Production Department of the SAE Institute in Amman, Mrs. Bara Qimari, Dr. Izit Bozkurt, the Vice President, Dr. Hakkı Hojam, Professor Hakkı Hojam, the Ibn Khaldun School of Communication Head of Media Department and Communication Department. I will also like to thank Ali Hojam, Fatih Hojam, and Yasmin Hojam for helping us all do this great forum together with people from Jordan, which made this possible. Of course, we'd love to thank also the moderators, friends, and the presenters, and your all efforts are, blessed, inshallah. Thank you very much for all your work. It was a very rich forum that was very beneficial for us all, I believe. And last but not least, I would love to thank the participants that attended the forum and the friends that are watching us now on YouTube. Thank you all very much. If you got any comments before I close, well done. We'll be seeing you soon, inshallah. Alasana, you raise your hand. Yeah.
Yeah, Hojam, I just want to convey my sincere greeting to my Hojas for like giving us this kind of opportunity. I think this is the first time we having this kind of forum where students will have an opportunity to participate and say anything they want. The forum is theirs. So I think it is commendable and it is a best step. And I thank Hojam, Hakke Hoja, for this, for letting this happen. And I thank Yasmin Hoja also for coming with this idea. I thank Izzat Hoja and Ali Hoja, and Ali Hoja for being with us here, for coordinating the program. We thank you all. I think so this will be something continuous. And next time also, next semester, we are hoping to see more breathtaking like forums that will help us to communicate, to interact, to convey our messages with other students. Thank you very much. We are so happy for this.
Inshallah. See you. Goodbye now.
I believe Abdurrahman also raised his hand if he's got anything to add. Abdurrahman.
Yes, actually, it's me invading Abdurrahman's laptop. I just have a small comment before we go. I'm so sorry for extension. Just would like also to thank all of the Hojas, for their support and so on. Like, it was great experience. It's my first time ever, participating in such forums. I was so happy, and even like I made 5 pages research paper, which usually I'm not like courage to do. I did it, and I was so happy to do it. It was unusual. So I would like to have similar experiences and similar forms maybe in the future. Maybe like our great university would provide us with other similar chances. Thank you again all, like Yasmin Hoja, Hakko Hoja, and for sure Ali Hoja, and you Umar Kardashim, all of you. Thanks all of you guys, and for the participants. Like we made like use of seeing you also with your great presentations. It was like amazing in all aspects. Thank you so much.
We thank you as well. Thank you very much. Well then, we'll be seeing each other in upcoming events like this, hopefully. Okay, thank you all for your feedback. Thank you all for attending. Stay safe. It's not over, the pandemic. Stay safe. Take care and goodbye.